Hello. Welcome back, everybody. And we're just waiting for Bar to come up. There he is. Welcome back to our final session of the day. Thank you everyone for being here and staying with us. So this is the session, where do I go from here? So you all have had a lot of information from the beginning of the day to the end of the day now, or the end of this session now, and you probably have a lot of questions, a lot of things, not knowing where to start, what's the next best move. And so with all of that, we're going to be having this session that's going to answer that question, right? And we're going to hear from our panelists about what their journeys were like, what was the next moves that they made, what recommendations they may have from you. But we really, really want to be able to take questions from the audience, take questions from you all, and thinking about what's that next step that I want to do. And then also, before you leave, we want you to be able to commit to action, right? Commit to whatever that next step is going to be for you, so that you know that this is where you how you start that journey. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and let my panelists introduce themselves. One of them you've already met before, but we'll go ahead and start with you, Keenan.
Hello, my name is Keenan Torre. I want to first thank
Hello.
Ruby for inviting me to be on this panel. And it was excellent meeting LeVar as well, and leading up to the panel as well. So my name is Keenan Torre. I serve as a program officer at Cultural Vistas. Cultural Vistas is a J1 provider, and we also provide professional experiences for university and recent graduates and actually young professionals to work and have professional experiences abroad. So I work on a program called ISDE, and that program is specifically works on in STEM. But prior to and let's see, I've been here for about
We'll get to your journey. So we'll just gonna do a quick introduction though. Marcus, are you able to hear? Is he able to hear me? Okay. So we'll come back to Marcus. Can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you now.
Oh, awesome. And just wanted to do a quick introduction, and then we'll come back around.
Yeah. So my name is Marcus Lazo. I was originally born in Haiti, Port-au-Prince specifically, and I grew up in South Hollis, Queens. I am presently, I attended UC Berkeley, where I studied history with a minor in public policy. And now I'm presently in Belgium, where I am an Erasmus Mundus scholarship recipient and studying like basically a double master's in international relations with a focus towards economic development.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
Cool. And Laura, I'll let you kind of give a little something to the people about who you are, what you did, other than kind of like, lead co-founder of Leaders of the Free World.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ruby. And good to see you, Marcus and Keenan. Again, LeVar Thomas. I am a returned Peace Corps volunteer. Served in Rwanda, East Africa from 2014 to 2016. Native of Brooklyn, New York. And yeah, really excited to be a part of this panel.
Awesome. So like I said, we'll be talking, the theme is, where do I go from here? So a part of this, I want you all to be putting yourselves in the shoes of a lot of where our young students are right now, in undergrad, just starting out, trying to navigate these spaces. And so I want you to say, what was your journey like, going from that space of being an undergrad to where you are right now? And so Keenan, I'll go ahead and circle back around to you.
Great. So coming out of undergrad, I was not the best student in undergrad. So I definitely had some like exploration to do coming out of the gate. I had started off as a biology major, moved into nursing, and was thinking of going to nursing school. But I had started doing some activist work around Nashville, where I was from, and studying. And I actually found that I really liked working with people, and I liked kind of pursuing more of the political space than working in sciences, I guess. So from there, it was really just working with the resources I had around me, talking to my network, whether it be like older mentors that I have always had in my life, to connect with people who could talk to me about what careers in international work look like. Also, just trying to do my own readings. I picked up an Economist magazine and started reading it on a flight, and it really just helped me to kind of see like the grad school programs that were out there, what kind of careers were out there, and then also just to kind of get into the frame of the space as well. So, taking a step back, as I mentioned, I wasn't the best student, so I knew that I had to do some things that would kind of set me apart from other applicants that may be looking to either go into the career or go into graduate school. So the first thing I did was look for opportunities abroad to do something volunteer-wise. And so I settled up on an opportunity in Haiti. This was after the earthquake, and it would have been around 2012. And so I spent about a month in Haiti. It was an amazing opportunity. There was a speaker earlier that talked about just the benefit of kind of going abroad and how you build relationships and you kind of see yourself in a way that you wouldn't have without that experience. It totally happened for me. It was a real eye-opening opportunity for me to kind of see what I needed to learn and the areas I needed to grow in, whether it be emotional maturity, within the field, how am I going to grow within the field, and then just to see kind of if I want to be an expert, then these are the type of things I need to do to get into that space. So from there, I came back home and was able to find some programs that I thought that I could get into. I settled up on, I applied to a couple, got into quite a few actually, and went to Seton Hall for a master's in international relations. And then finally, I wasn't actually settled or satisfied. I wanted something more. Really passionate about Africa, as I had a history degree from undergraduate studies, and so I wanted to go to study more in African politics. So I went to SOAS in London. Spent a year abroad there, getting a master's in science and African politics. It was an amazing experience, from the field work that I did in Nigeria to also the networks that I was able to build within the European space because of going to school in Europe. And so from there, I returned to the U.S. I'm now in New York. I've lived in New York for about 5 years now. I started off with a smaller nonprofit than Cultural Vistas that provided soccer as a tool for development. So we worked in New York and also in Africa. I did a couple of trips to Zimbabwe, which is extremely fulfilling work as well, working with life skills and training up people for professional development. So much what I'm doing now at Cultural Vistas. And I've been able to maintain those relationships. So now I'm at Cultural Vistas, and we'll talk about that a little bit more. But as you see, my path wasn't straightforward, and I hope this kind of enlightens you as well.
Awesome. And I love that. And because I'm always saying to these folks, like, it's not necessarily like, getting these experiences and getting the job so that you go abroad and maybe you stay abroad. I mean, that could be your journey, but it also could mean that it plays into the career choices that you have here as well. So it's really cool. And so, Marcus, your journey. I'm still on mute. I'm going to maybe cut over to LeVar while we're waiting for Marcus. All right, cool. Yeah. LeVar, you go ahead.
Not a problem. I think similar to Keenan, I mean, my path was definitely a wander. When I graduated from Clark University, I was at that point where I knew I didn't want to go back to Brooklyn. I'm like, I got this degree. I'm trying to spread my wings and start this thing called adulting, want to get a job and really be independent. But then, I had a lot of voices in my head telling me, what you going to do with a political science degree, right? How are you going to get a job with that? That's not like a science degree where, you can go to med school or something. Like, what are you going to do with that degree? So I had all these voices telling me, hey, you should go to grad school. Hey, you should work here. And really not hearing my own voice in terms of what I wanted to do. And I remember sitting in at my advisor's office, and she did Peace Corps in Jordan. And she told me about her experience and how when she was graduating from undergrad, she was in a similar boat and people were telling her what to do. And she's like, screw it, I'm going to join the Peace Corps. So that was really the first time I learned about the Peace Corps. And I did some research and I said, okay, cool. I'll apply for it and see whatever happens. Fast track, I had gotten a job working at the State House in Boston. So I was doing community organizing work and working with different community associations. for about a year, then I got the email that I'm going to Rwanda. So you could imagine, I just started making a little money in my pocket, not as broke as I was, and now I get this life-changing email about, hey, you're scheduled to go to Rwanda in like 3 months. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, do I really want to do this? Am I sure? I started questioning my decision for even applying. My family members like, Rwanda, like, whoa, like that's crazy. So I was really scared, and plus I didn't know anybody who looked like me who was having that experience. But again, I think it was one of those decisions that changed my life, literally, changed the nature of my relationships, because the person that I left, I didn't come back that same person. So people that I interacted with, the nature of those relationships even shifted, because you got folks who are still on the block, still doing the same thing, and you come back like, yo, I just went to Rwanda. I'm doing this, living in a village and doing agriculture work and leadership development with youth, and they're like, cool, but they don't understand it, right? Because maybe they never left that environment. So I think in terms of my journey, it was really trying to figure out my own path and finding that voice, getting clear about what does LeVar want, who does LeVar want to become, and what's the impact that I really want to have in the world. It was definitely not a straightforward path. It was a lot of different experiences that kind of culminated everything.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that we all think, like, when we're putting it on a resume and everything, it's just like, yeah, it was totally a straight line, totally knew what I was doing the whole time. It's the narrative that we're trying to construct, but it's like it is these different twists and turns that things take. So Marcus, I wanted to turn it to you, and just like, what was your journey like in terms of getting from undergrad to where you are now?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to adamantly apologize for the technical difficulties. But yeah, my whole background is a little bit tumultuous, and I think at least initially when I was thinking about going to college, I was at that point 16, 17 years old. So when students were already getting ready to apply for their SATs, I didn't really have that. I was fortunate enough to have my mother, who was a part of a union, who her union ended up paying for my SAT course. And it's not until then I really told myself, okay, maybe I should go to college because I'm getting this course for free. And and I ended up going to community college at Santa Barbara City College and taking advantage of that. And it later on led me to subsequently transfer to UC Berkeley. And I think when you're a transfer student, you don't really have that much of a wherewithal about all the resources that are at your disposal. And additionally to that, you kind of have that pressure to do all these things that other students have 4 years to do in 2 years or less. So I had many ups and downs, and at times I had to leave school because I couldn't afford tuition, or I had to, similar to many other transfer and community college students, work part-time all the time. And it definitely instilled in me a level of grit and a level of determination to try to get some of those experiences that my peers got studying abroad in different ways. So when I was applying to scholarships, I had the mindset that I did not want to pay any more for college at this point in my life, and I did not want to accrue any more debt. So that focus and determination made me look for all the avenues and all the different scholarships you could get to afford a postgraduate education. And fortunately, I was able to receive one and study in Belgium and Poland at that moment. But also, I think this really connects to the organization that me and some of my friends co-founded,
Right.
Global Community College Transfers. In that
we're gonna get right into that.
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So, no. That's
Sorry.
really easy too. So no, that's awesome. Thank you so much. Because there were just so many things too that you said in terms of one, being a community college graduate. That's my co-founder and I LeVar. But also that idea of just like, having to work, working through school and having that different experience, a different academic experience, maybe than a lot of folks, because a lot of times we don't know that there's resources out there or the funding, or we don't see ourselves as even being eligible or to apply for those things. And so even going back to what the last panel was saying about use those campus resources, to find them out, to help write the essays, that are required for applying and everything like that. And so, yeah, thank you. So I want to now actually turn it over to you all and ask, what strategies, career strategies did you use, would you recommend, but then also talking about how your programs, kind of play a role in those types of strategies that help students make that leap, help students figure out that next path and that next step, and then navigate, through to the next phase of being a global leader or going into the global leadership landscape. So Marcus, I'll let you continue. And I also want to throw in there, I know you apologize for, your technical difficulties, but also, where are you tuning in from again? Oh, you have to unmute yourself.
Belgium right now.
Yeah, you're in
just
Belgium
moved
right
back to Belgium.
Awesome.
At many places.
So no, you can stay unmuted. So tell us about, GCCT. Tell us about what strategies you used. You talked about the funding aspect and strategies that you would recommend to other students in terms of navigating their own career journey. That's to you.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry, there's a little bit of a mute
Oh,
right now.
yeah.
But I used many. First of all, at least with GCCT, it's an organization that, as I aforementioned, that me and some friends co-founded after the George Floyd protests, and it's targeting underrepresented students of color from underrepresented geographical regions around the country, as well as low-income students to actively take participation and lead in representing the U.S. From abroad and receiving many of the foreign affairs scholarships.
Oh no.
Are not aware of, and we really don't have the structure and the mentorship to take advantage of, as well as giving students the ability to study abroad, especially community college students, which consists about 46% of students in 46% of undergraduate students in the U.S. And we just thought, okay, this would be the best place to do that. And, trying to receive some of the resources that me and many of the co-founders who also attended community college never had. So things like mentorship, things like a database that provides students with the ability to see all these different scholarships and the various deadlines and how to receive them, as well as a plethora of other things. And I think one of the big ways that I kind of was able to study abroad was by really planning ahead and finding a way to organize all these scholarships, in an Excel database, and also asking mentors to really, give me that level of structure and that level of advice that I think, if you're like me, you come from a neighborhood where it's low income and it's disenfranchised, you don't really know too many people who have studied abroad, or too many people who can give you that guidance that is invaluable profoundly to so many young Black men. So things like that, and just doing Google, Reddit searches, et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome. Keenan? So the question was, what strategies have you used in your career journey? What strategies would you recommend? And how does Cultural Vistas kind of play into that?
Yeah, definitely. So as you were posing this question, you went back to mentioning the using career services department of universities. I definitely heard that conversation in a different panel. I definitely use this during graduate studies, and I would recommend that anyone here who's currently undergoing studies to use your graduate studies or your professional studies center to help you locate opportunities. They're always flooded with opportunities, and unless you ask, they won't know that you're looking. So if there's anyone on this line currently that works in professional services, the moderators, please reach out to me because I have actually had difficulty in kind of improving or raising our minority numbers in terms of our participants for the program that I work on as well. Just making connections with different universities that are able to like service and create those pipelines. And then taking a step back, I totally agree with Marcus in terms of the planning and preparation. I was able to strategically find myself where I am today by planning. I tried to look at things in terms of several years. And so it allows you to think about things like scholarship deadlines or like what's expected for you this summer versus next summer. What do you have to get done this semester in order to be ready for the fall? So I generally try to plan things out quite far in advance. I would also mention, things come up like in my current career or in role at Cultural Vistas. Just for clear transparency, we are all of the kind of the age and the generation in which people don't necessarily stay in jobs for the entirety of their careers. So in my head, I had this idea of I'll be a Cultural Vistas for this amount of time. Well, the pandemic has come and it has kind of created challenges in terms of the work that we've done. So it makes you step back and think about, okay, well, what am I actually able to do at this time? So, think about risk, think about how things come up. You may have a plan in place, but always take into account the things that are going on in the world around you as they impact your career, as they impact what you're actually studying at the time. Are these skills still relevant? Will they still be relevant in the future? Where is this field and what skills are being valued the most? And so, in going into Cultural Vistas, we definitely, we recommend that our students, again, look at professional services from the universities. We try to form strong relationships with universities to access students. And, we always recommend the students, you may not have professional experience, as I mentioned, that I didn't have before, but volunteer work, that goes a long way. Or what can you do inside your university? Whether that's like, how do you leverage projects within university, within your classroom? How do you leverage, if you're an engineer, how do you leverage lab work? How do you leverage individual projects that you do on your own? I work with a ton of STEM students who may not have had like an internship with Google or Apple, but they on their own time have created some coding project on their own. So just try to think about what are some things that you can do. And as Marcus said, I totally agree with, try to find a mentor that may be able to help you kind of tease out some of the ideas that you may have. In every step that I've gone, I've definitely tried to look to someone who has had some experience in that space. So when I was looking to go to graduate school in London, I definitely connected with a gentleman who was living in New Jersey who had actually studied foreign language at SOAS. And so he was able to kind of give me a really good foundation in terms of what to look for and to make sure that I was able to get the best experience out of that opportunity. So yeah, just continue to use as many resources as possible from your Career Services Center. They have them there for you. And if you're interested in study abroad opportunities, definitely contact Cultural Vistas and we can try to work with you as well.
Awesome. So LeVar, same question. What strategies did you use? Which ones would you recommend? And how does LFW play into that?
Absolutely. I think the number one thing is learning the art of networking. networking has literally taken me from a kid growing up from Brooklyn around the world because of the relationships that I've been able to cultivate, and just being able to see my story as a positive and not as a negative thing. So when I didn't get into college the first time and I did terrible in my SATs, I didn't at the time I didn't see that as little stepping stones to grow my career. I thought it was like a bad thing and I was ashamed to talk about it. And then I realized that when I was speaking to other students who looked like me, I was like, wow, like I hated the SATs too, or like I felt like it was a setback for me in that regard. And I realized that I wasn't alone anymore. So when I was in community college, and thank you, Marcus, for bringing that up. I'm like, yeah, I was in community college too at one point in my journey. It was there I learned the art of networking and how to really give that 15-second elevator pitch of who LeVar is. And that was so important because it got me to understand my narrative and it got me to understand what I needed to change in my narrative or what I was telling myself. And I think for participants who are on, I think we as great as opportunities are, we also have to learn how to control that inner discussion, that inner narrative, that inner conversation that we have with ourselves. Because until we can get control of that, it's really hard to take advantage of opportunities. And one of the things that we do in LFW is helping our students to change that narrative of what's possible. How do you go from an environment that may not speak life into you, who you are, what you're capable of doing, and become someone? So many of our students sometimes even struggle applying to the program because they think that they can't even apply. They speak themselves out of the application process before they even give themselves a shot. And I remember being there because I was once a student that felt like I can't get into that program. Why? UC Berkeley? Like, can I get into community college? You know what I'm saying? So like that was the inner narrative that I was having with myself that I needed to change. And I think that's 90% of the battle is being able to say, hey, I'm worth this opportunity. My experiences allow me to take advantage of these opportunities. And I think just shifting that conversation was really the inner battle that I needed to have for that external victory I was seeking. And once I was able to change the narrative of who I thought I was, who I thought I wasn't, then I was able to say, you know what? I want to create this organization. I want to help create access for other young brothers to have these experiences because it's cool to have transformative experiences for yourself, but it's even more powerful when you can break down barriers that prevent other people who look like you to have those experiences. So you're not the anomaly anymore. I got tired of being the anomaly. I got tired of being in spaces where I was the only face and being tokenized. You know, folks say, "Oh, you're so smart, you're so brilliant, you're so poised," but I'm like, I'm not the only one. There's a huge community of folks that's even more powerful that can be, entered into this environment. So I think networking, changing the inner narrative, and just really trying to step out of my comfort zone. I think the comfort zone will paralyze anything that you're trying to do. So just being mindful of how your comfort zone might be holding you back.
Awesome. Yeah. So great strategies, great insights into your organizations. I knew about LFW. And so I was checking to see if we had any questions from the audience. Feel free to definitely type it into the chat. But I'll throw out one more, maybe a quick one while we wait. What recommendations or advice would you give to students right now in terms of resources, things that would be helpful, any articles, books, podcasts that you would recommend, funding resources that you would recommend to students?
Yeah, I have many. So I'll try to, make it as succinct as possible. I think like one big one is like, especially many students who may feel like, okay, I don't want to pursue postgraduate education abroad because of the opportunity costs. And simply it's a bit too high, and your parents are putting that financial pressure on you, like you got to get a job. you like a big one is the MasterCard graduate launch program, where you have a chance to work in MasterCard and like basically work in some cool projects, and you don't have to study anything in particular. You don't have to be a business or economics or a computer science major, and you just apply. And yeah, and another big resource is Jobwell, which is focused towards helping people of color, students of color, young professionals of color receive jobs and basically find many job opportunities throughout the world, from multinational corporations to nonprofits. I would also highly recommend, looking through Reddit and some other forums. I find that, whenever I do join some of these groups, I am always, astoundingly enlightened by many of the answers and questions and resources people share on Reddit. And yeah, of course, like the basics like LinkedIn and et cetera, et cetera.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would quickly add, just like Reddit, I think Twitter can also be a great source. I'm always seeing people in the international space share jobs that are currently available. So if you can get in there and create a list that is kind of made up of the or a list is kind of made up of the type of people that you're interested in like following, then you can really track down again the jobs that are out there, and then kind of what the talking points are around your field. I would also recommend finding a podcast and listening into very regularly. It will help your ability to stay on top of world events, and it will also help you in the way in just in like organization and in an ability to like synthesize things in terms of how you will be looked at to do it in a graduate level. As I mentioned, I started with the Economist podcast when I was looking to come into the space, Economist magazine, and I now use the podcast. I don't think the podcast is like, it's not perfect. I mean, there are some. I sent a critique in recently about kind of the way they handle Africa in their storylines, but I do think that you can still get some really good, very very good journalism out of those topics, and it'll help you continue to learn and grow and think about how you can impact the world and where you are in the space. Finally, I would mention again Cultural Vistas. If you are in STEM fields, I work on a program called ISD. We work with students who are undergraduates all the way to graduate level or recent graduates, and we place you in paid positions around the world. For minorities, I know this is really important. It's one of my greatest barriers coming out of school doing things was I needed to work, so I couldn't do these things well. Well, with this program, you will be paid, and it will at least help you to break even so you can afford to live within the space, and it'll help you to network abroad, which can be amazing in terms of thinking about the fact that you can have a network from your undergraduate school and a network that is and it is international as well. And then if you're thinking about maybe going to like graduate school abroad, it was amazing for me because I did a 1-year master's program, which is not a thing in the United States necessarily. You can do PhD programs abroad that tend to be shorter and can be cheaper than the United States. Again, it gives you an opportunity to build a broader network out there as well. Culture Business also has another program called CBYX, which is tied with the, I guess, the German Parliament and the U.S. Congress. And each year we send a cohort of students out to Germany to live for several months. There's also an Alpha Fellowship, which works with Russia. Of course, we are in some precarious times, so we'll see how that goes. But we do have a number of outward faces programs that do provide a way to be sufficient, kind of have some funding as well while you're out there, so that it's not as much of a perilous journey. And then finally, I'd love to plug Diversity Abroad. We work with them at Cultural Vistas. I've actually spoken to them on a number of occasions, panels, and just informally as well. I find them to be an amazing resource. I wish that I had known about them when I was coming up. It always feels good to come into networks like this, as this conference has been for me, and I hope for all of you as attendees. But I would definitely recommend Diversity Abroad as well.
Awesome, awesome. And I also want to remind folks that you can check out Cultural Vistas in the exhibit hall. And thank you for naming Diversity Abroad. I know a bunch of folks heard Andrew at the top of this of the summit, but yeah, they have been an excellent resource. The conferences are awesome, and getting connecting with other folks. And so thank you for that. So I don't think that we have any other questions. So then I'll ask this. If you could give one piece of advice to students now who are essentially your former selves, what would that piece of advice be?
I would just say keep growing. Don't settle for where you are today. Just keep growing, keep pushing, and don't be afraid to grow. As you go into the international space, you will find that you don't know as much as you thought you knew, and you may find that and you'll see kind of some places and areas in which you want to grow. So continue to grow. Don't be afraid of growth, and we definitely need you in this space.
Awesome.
Yeah, my big one is to be open-minded. I think this year and over the past few years, I've had some profound experiences in that have really forced me to grow and question myself and be much more critical of my own experience, as well as like critical to the point where I want to grow, as like Keenan was saying. But you kind of have to be open-minded when you're abroad, because there everything is like new, and there are some things that are going to shock you, and some things that are going to be just surprising. But I think if you're open-minded enough to like really look out for new opportunities and just have like simple conversations with people, you find that there is a sense of like humanity and understanding. And like we were saying before, there's not too many African Americans that are representing Americans abroad, for that matter. And when you're abroad and you show a willingness to learn and a willingness to be like structurally empathetic, then it subconsciously or consciously makes people change how they view Black Americans and Americans on a broader scale, and understand us as much more open-minded and as like multi-dimensional people, which is true. Like we're a very diverse country. So yeah.
Yeah, I would say trust your journey and your process. Trust your journey and your process. It's so easy to compare yourself, especially in the age of social media, and to feel behind on your goals and your aspirations, and to feel like everything that you're doing is never enough. And it's so important for you to recognize that it's a process, it's a journey. It's not a sprint, it's a long distance race. So you have to train for the long distance and realize that every chapter of your life is aligning really for your purpose and for you to get deeper clarity and understanding of that. So trust your process.
Awesome. Well, that was super helpful, all of you all. And there's a bunch of resources that you all threw out. And so we're going to capture those, put them in the follow-up document that will be sent out to all the attendees. And is there anything else that you all wanted to kind of say that we didn't ask? One thing you wanted to leave the group with? I would love for folks who are currently in this session right now, go ahead and type in, you heard a lot of information today. You heard a lot of strategies from folks in this session. I want you to type just one thing that you're going to do after this session. It don't have to be tonight, maybe in the next week. One thing, one step that you're going to take over the next week that's going to start you towards your journey. It could be sending that email, filling out that application to get your passport, meeting with an officer in your office, like a department officer, an office advisor, at your school. What is that one thing that you're going to do in the next week that's going to kick you off on your journey? Download that podcast. Any of those things, go ahead and type that into the chat. The commitment that you're making to yourself in the next week. So with that being said, I wanted to thank our panelists. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Keenan. This was really amazing. You all need to check out their organizations. That's why I had to have them on the panel. They're doing amazing work and going on to do amazing things. And so thank you all for being here, and we'll close out.
Thank you for organizing this, LeVar. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you both for inviting Marcus and I to join this panel on your inaugural program. This has been amazing, and again, I really hope that everyone kind of takes heed and finds some step to move in moving forward.
Yes. And please feel free. I mean, I hope it's okay. I'm about to throw y'all out there. Like, they're both on LinkedIn. So reach out to them. So their names were there, but are in the you can find them on the platform and connect with them through LinkedIn as you can with any of us. And yeah, keep moving forward. Oh, and don't forget to fill out the poll for this session at the end as well. So, and thank you all. So thank you. This is the last session, but we have a couple of things that we want to do. We had a contest, social media contest, for folks helping us get the word out, and did want to announce the winner and who of the social media challenge. His name is there. I think we're our faces are covering up his name there. Who helped us get the word out about the summit. And so he was the winner of the social media contest and will win the $25 Amazon gift card. So thank you, Roosevelt, for doing that. And so I'm going to turn it over to LeVar. Thank you all for being here, but we have a couple of things that we just wanted to acknowledge. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Thank you. Wow. Such an amazing day. I'm sure many of you have took away a lot of gems from the panelists and what we've been able to have discussed. So I hope you all feel empowered that this is possible. This is real. This is something that you can do, that you can see yourself a part of, and being able to take your life to the next level and really take advantage of some of the resources that were discussed today.
Mm-hmm. I also wanted to thank our our GLS, our Global Leadership Summit Organizing Committee, our amazing panelists, our exhibitors that are still here. So please check them out. I want to also thank again our event management team, Hall Packs. Y'all did the darn thing. So we appreciate you so much. The exhibit hall, I just also wanted to let folks know that the exhibit hall and the networking room are going to stay open for another hour. So if there's anyone you didn't get a chance to connect, please, you can stay on the platform and go to the exhibit hall. You can do the networking room. That'll be open. And please connect with folks also on LinkedIn.
Awesome. So remember, if you would like to remain engaged with the Global Leadership Initiative, please be on the lookout for our follow-up email and invitation. We can achieve so much together, guys, through the partnerships, through our ability to work together to really address the barriers in place that prevent Black men from really engaging in international experiences. We achieve that through these kind of forums, through these discussions where we're able to learn from one another and understand what's even available. As Ruby mentioned, the exhibit hall and networking room will stay open for another hour, so take advantage of that. There's so many really cool and interesting people with unique backgrounds that you can all benefit from. Again, links to resources and handouts will be sent out after the summit. Please remember to check out our website at www.leadersofthefreeworld.org and stay connected. We are extremely thankful to you all for making this inaugural event possible. We couldn't do this without you, the attendees, the panelists, the planning team, the partners, everyone that's here. You all made this possible. We thank you, and stay tuned. We have so much more in store.
Yes, thank you.